Welcome back to Behind the Veil. Today we're going to be talking about, do you actually need a wedding planner? It's a subject that we get asked about all the time, and as wedding planners we get grilled about all the time. So I'm excited because our guest today is Elizabeth Hollman. She is the owner of Everlasting Events out of Palm Beach. She's also a native. But before we get this party started, let me bring on Marcy Gutenberg with an affair to remember by Marcy. Hi, Marcy.
Hi, Keith.
So I'm changing the intro a little bit because we've only been using the same intro for 3 years. I think that people actually know what the show is about.
Yes.
So,
we're going to have to mix it up.
Yeah, gotta mix it up a little bit. Anyway, so this is one of those things. I think it's going to be a big piece of topic for people out there, because wedding planners are one of those a lot of people think of as extra, like, oh, if I have extra money on my budget, if I have extra time, but they don't think about it first. It's almost like an afterthought, like, oh, you know what, maybe I need an event planner. And I think that people are doing themselves a big disservice.
It's a misconception. I mean, totally. I mean, this is your biggest day and you want it to go perfect. And what better way to do it than to have somebody who is, knows every little detail that needs to be taken care of.
Man, hello, Elizabeth. Welcome to the show. Hi.
How are you guys? Sorry, my connection.
Hello.
No, you're doing great. So I'm excited because you have a company called Everlasting Events. You are a Palm Beach native, which is surprisingly rare here in South Florida.
Third generation,
like,
and married to one too.
Really?
Yeah, crazy, right?
Third generation West Palm Beach, or third generation South Florida?
Palm Beach. My grandfather graduated from the same high school as I did.
Oh my God. No pressure, because then you get the teachers that are like, here comes another Holman.
Well, it's Babby on that one, but yeah. They still say that.
Oh my God, that's funny. Well, and so you grew up in this area, and then I when we were reading your bio, the fact that you at 14 you kind of already knew what you wanted to do.
Yeah,
which is kind of crazy. I mean, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do at 14. I mean, I thought I was going to be a disc jockey at first, and then God knows from there.
Right.
But, I mean, what was the inspiration at 14 that you were like, yes, this is what I want to do with my life?
I don't know. There was just something like so amazing and glamorous about it, but also the special day. I'm just love, and I always have been this hopeless romantic and just want that Cinderella feeling, and want everybody to have that. So that's part of why everything about my company is like royalty and treating them like a princess. It kind of goes back to that whole thing there. And I actually it was an Oprah show I saw, and they just had these celebrity wedding planners. And I was like, wow, that looks like such a fun job. And that's what everybody says to us all the time, but it's not always so glamorous and fun behind the scenes.
I was about to say, you said glamorous. I'm like, what? There's no glamorous.
Well, that's what everybody thinks, right? And so you're actually in the cut of it.
Remember the movie, The
Jennifer
Wedding Planner
Lopez.
with Jennifer Lopez?
I was going to say that.
And how many times after that did you get asked, are you
Still,
just like J-Lo?
Still, to this day, it still comes about all the time. And I'm like, listen, nobody wants you to fall in love with their groom and run off together. That's not realistic as a wedding planner.
Well, we're not all wearing earpieces and running around in 8-inch heels.
Oh, yeah. The only thing that's realistic about that is the calm, cool, and collected. And then she runs really quick where nobody sees, and then she's calm again. I'm like, that's the only part that's realistic about this whole movie.
I know.
But I love it. I've watched it 1,000 times. Don't get it wrong.
God. I know. And I feel like that's like a massive, that unfortunately, I think that movie actually did a bigger detriment, because a lot of people don't really even know what a wedding planner does. They see what they see on TV and in the movies, which is totally different than
100%.
And so our question today is, do you actually need a wedding planner? And, I tend to defer to the answer yes, but it really depends on of weddings. But I find that us as wedding planners, our biggest job is to save people time and money.
Right.
And I think people think that we're trying to get them, suck them for more money.
Exactly.
And we're like, no, we want to keep you on your budget, for God's sakes. I mean, I don't want anybody looking a year back and saying, oh, I loved everything about my wedding except the money I spent.
Right. But it's more than just the money. I mean, it's, your keeping them calm. It's all the little details that they have nobody to do for them. It's a multitude. I mean, there's like tons and tons of tasks that unless you're a professional, you don't even realize until that day.
Right.
Well, even logistics and leading up, I know if I was getting married in a week, the last thing I'd want to do is tell my DJ and florist where they should unload their truck and what time they can be in the ballroom, and, that they have an event that day, but they told you a year ago they didn't have an event that day and you had all day long. And,
Right.
there's a lot of little things that could come into play. And as a bride or even as a bride's mom, you
Yeah.
shouldn't be dealing with that as your family's coming into town and you're trying to get, last minute items in order and enjoy that time. You have spent a lot of money on it, so you should get to enjoy it and not run around. And the day goes
Yeah.
by so quickly already.
Mhm.
If you're
It
not
really
able to
does.
try to be present in the moment, then
Oh my God, it's crazy. So let's talk a little bit about your company, Everlasting Events. How did that come about? Like, because a lot of people, when you're an entrepreneur, a lot of people are like, when did you make the big step? How did you know that it was time to make the big step? And then how scary was it? Because most of us came from either a hospitality background or a hotel background where we had a steady paycheck. We knew our hours were all over the place, just like they are now. But we knew, we had a steady paycheck, health insurance, all the benefits, et cetera. And then we said, no, we're going to throw all that to the wind and start our own company. Yay. So how did that evolve for you? How did you come up with Everlasting Events?
Well, I was a bartender, so I never had health insurance, first of all. But no, so I was always in hospitality since I was 14. I was, hostess, server, all the things in restaurants, and got really lucky with a friend of mine whose mom worked at a country club and just was talking about, we were earlier, how passionate I was and how I always thought that would be such an amazing job. I had taken some classes on it. At that point, it wasn't really there wasn't certified courses like there is now that we've obviously all taken, through the Bridal Society and different places like that.
Right.
It was still very up and coming. So I shadowed her for a few years and really did a lot of day of with her on bar mitzvahs and weddings and things. And then slowly just my friends started to get married and I was like, oh, I'll plan your wedding. I was kind of that person that we all kind of can't hate or kind of hate now, but I did do, I did do the legwork and I did take the courses and I did, try to be humble and learn from everybody around me and things like that. And I did day of, so I did have experience, but you think you have the experience until you're actually in it. And, even 15 years later, learning something new at every single wedding and putting it forth towards, the future every time. So I had been doing it on the side while I was bartending for 6 years, and my husband and I got married, and a year later we were just kind of not going to stay young forever. And when are we going to take this step, and might as well do it now. And he's an entrepreneur and owns his own business as well. So he was a huge support in the business side and obviously very supportive. And I had to cut some things out of my budget, but worth it in the long run. And here we are. Now my company I've had it since 2008, but 9 years ago is when I left my full-time job. So now it's been 9 years that I've been doing this full-time and this only. So
wow. See, and I love that because I think that, being an entrepreneur is typically a lonely position. We're actually going to be doing a show about the fact that being an entrepreneur typically is lonely in a relationship. So it's amazing that you're married to somebody that's also an entrepreneur, because then you can commiserate, so to speak.
Well, we both work from home, but we're both on the go. So he's in real estate, as we are, sometimes we're on a laptop all day and sometimes we're on the go for 3 days straight. So we have that ability to even on a Monday say, oh, we have a few hours free. Let's go have lunch together or things like that. So it works out with the weekends because our business, we work on the weekends. So that's not always conducive for relationships either. So when you're with somebody that has their own schedule, it works out a little bit better. And yeah.
Well, I'm lucky
the business side is good too, because, I'm a wedding planner. I'm a creative. I'm not so great on the business side sometimes. So having him on that is amazing.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. My husband has a basic 9-to-5 job and with Broward schools, but I use him as extra labor on the weekend. So that works out for me.
My husband was my free assistant for at least the first 2 years.
Right?
He literally went to every wedding with me every second, and my sister too. And now I pay her to be my assistant sometimes when I need her. But
Right. Well, and it does. It makes a huge difference being able to have
Yeah.
somebody that you can trust that has the same investment into the wedding as you do, because it's amazing. Like, especially now, because labor issues are such a big deal
Oh my
right now in
goodness.
South Florida.
Oh,
Finding people that are quality is a nightmare. But anyway, I digress.
Yes, that's a whole nother show, or like
that's
5
a
of them.
whole nother show. But when we talk about wedding planners, and if somebody's out there and they're looking at hiring a wedding planner, and many times we hear from hotels that are like, "Oh, you don't need a wedding planner. I'm here to help you. I will be with you the whole." And I am guilty of this myself, because
Me too.
so when I was a director of catering, I said this to my clients. On my current clients that just booked me, was one of my clients at Hyatt Pier 66 12 years ago. No age anyway. But and she went on to a different hotel with her second daughter. This is now, I'm doing the third daughter's wedding, and she said it was a completely different experience than when she was working with me, and she had no idea that this is how hotels normally work. That the catering salesperson's job is to sell. And so I tend to cringe a little bit, because I feel like, first of all, I did the same thing, and I think that it's an educational component when it comes to catering managers. And I try to tell catering managers all the time, it's like, look, we're your partner. We're here to run the event and the logistics so you can sell. And then also to my clients, I say, look, you need to have an advocate that's in your corner that you're paying for, because at the end of the day, the catering manager, as well as much as they want to, their boss is the hotel. And so if it comes push to shove, they're going to have to side with their employer, because they have no other choice.
Right.
And things did change, over these years. I mean, back in the day when I was in catering, it was really a matter of, there wasn't as planned out as they are nowadays. Nowadays, it is like a symphony, and back
It's a
then,
production for sure.
It's a total production. And back then, it wasn't quite as evolved as it is now.
Right. You did have like your grandmother making your cake, or, people making your centerpieces for you. Now it's what's the newest thing, what's the extra, what's, the trend of this year or this month, and how can I overdo it? And not everybody is in that caliber, but everybody is wanting to have their personalization, which brings in those extra items as well. But I think a lot of hotels were starting to go towards making sure you do have a planner, but then I've been feeling that way in the last couple of years, especially pre-pandemic. A lot of them that are, the hotels where we're going to be in those people's budgets are saying, no, you have to have a planner, even if it's just month of. And I thought that was becoming more the norm until recently, when I literally was setting up for a wedding and overheard the salesperson say, you don't need a planner. And I was like, well, I just did 30,000 steps and ran up 40 flights of stairs in the last 7 hours. How did you not need me? I don't understand.
Yeah, I know. On average, we do 50,000.
I was not sitting around. I was definitely doing things that you were not.
Well, I try, and I'll share this email at some point, but I actually one day sat down and wrote out everything that I did from the moment I walked into the hotel till the moment I left the hotel, like line by line.
To do that.
Oh my goodness. It was 4 pages. I was like, oh my God, I need to charge more.
Yeah.
I gotta charge more. Oh my God, this is crazy. And so, but it's really difficult when you're talking to a client and say, well, why do I need a planner? What do you say? How do you respond to that when somebody says, well, why do I need a planner?
I think one of the key things is, this is the one and only time, and the first time, hopefully, that you've ever done this. And I do this day in and day out, week after week, and have been doing that for years. So just like any other thing, you would go to a professional to help you. You would go to a doctor if you were sick. You would go to a teacher to learn. I'm here to help you learn the industry and educate you through your wedding planning process as well. And, people don't understand why flowers cost what they do, or why it's so much per head, but then why do I have to pay this service charge? Why do I have to pay this? And it's our job to explain that and educate them on what those charges are and help them understand it a little more. And then obviously therapist side of it, is like, listen, I'm going to be your person. I want to make sure we connect, just as much as you're interviewing me, I'm interviewing you. And I want to make sure that we vibe and that you're going to feel comfortable to come to me. And if your, mom and dad hate each other, I need to know those things. I'm there to help you with those things. There's a lot of details that come into such an emotional day. So it's, again, the advocate side of it. I'm not your family member. I'm not your best friend. I'm not your caterer. I'm not your florist, but I'm there to help you bring all of those things together and be on your side for it all. So,
right. And we don't have an emotional component to us,
Right.
We're not bringing in years of implanting buttons that we're going to happen to push on that day.
Right.
That's not
and
our
we know
job.
the ins and outs of a lot of these venues, even if it's a new venue, you could still learn those things. But after you've been to a lot of venues, there's little things they might not know. If like certain venues that have two weddings, a 5 o'clock and a 7 o'clock. Well, they're going to sell to you that it's only your wedding, but I've been there and I've watched it happen while guests are entering and your guests are leaving or things like that. There's every venue's different. Every place has different logistics. So again, we're there to kind of educate them and those items pre-planning.
And there is a venue here that actually has a shared cocktail space and so even though you have separate ballrooms, all the guests from all the different weddings.
I think it's the same venue I was just talking about, possibly. Right? We won't say names.
We won't say names, but it's been around for a bit. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, but they don't tell their potential clients that, oh, by the way, you have to share your cocktail space with everybody else.
And some people that doesn't bother them and they don't care, but some people that's very important to feel as though that's their only space. And then that's, again, our job to know our client and know what they're looking for so that they're not disappointed when it comes to that day and they're prepared for things like that may come about.
What was your biggest surprise when you went into business for yourself when it came to a wedding? The biggest, like, wow, I never expected that question from a client. I mean, it's one of those things that I remember, like my thing was when I went into business for myself, I was surprised at that my clients were thinking that I was also a florist or had rental equipment as part of like what I do. And I'm like, no.
I can tell you mine.
Yes.
Go for it.
So mine was sending them a contract. They were like, why do you need a contract? Like they didn't understand that, we needed to protect ourselves and we needed to protect them. And they weren't looking at it in that way. And they said, well, did you have a problem with somebody else? And I said, no, I haven't. But probably the reason I haven't is because I have a contract.
Right.
Yep. Which spells out what you're going to do.
Surprising thing for somebody to ask too. That's not something you.
It was very strange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's just the explaining what we do and the unrealistic expectations. Like you mentioned, Keith, a lot of times they think we're there to do all these things, like pick up their cake and move theirs, and I listen in the beginning of my times, or move their chairs, they want to save money on chairs and I'm going to move them here. But you don't want your guests to see people moving chairs while they're trying to have a drink and they just enjoyed your ceremony, but they think that we're there to just kind of, I don't know what the right word is to say it.
So I'm going to actually play a little bit, not devil's advocate, but more of, I want to ask you both the question. And the reason I'm asking it was I was contacted by my friend's brother who doesn't live in the area here, who was asking me, they were talking about the fact that they wanted to get a wedding planner, possibly, or they didn't say wedding planner, they said event planner. And I was asking questions because they didn't tell me it was for a wedding.
I remember this.
And they were like, well, does it make a difference if you tell them it's for, like, let's say a wedding or another kind of event? Doesn't the wedding charge more money?
Because there's more to it.
That's exactly what I said. So, I mean, I think, people don't realize the perception of, it isn't all about the fact that it has the word wedding in it. It's about all the little steps that it takes. Am I right on that? Okay.
Oh, 100%.
And I think that's the misconception. People think it's the label of it, but it's, the pressure of that day is a bigger day than, a 5th birthday party or something like that. No offense to the 5-year-old, but it is a bigger day. They're going to have more birthdays. And there's just different logistics that come into play. You need more assistance. You need, if you have transportation, you might need to have 2 different extra people. That's more people that you have to pay. There's a lot of things that go into the more of the production. So it's not that it's a wedding. It's just the factor of what you're going to have. You're probably not going to have huge elaborate centerpieces for something that's smaller. So of course they're going to cost more. There's more flowers, there's more labor. It's, all of those things. Just like having a barbecue versus filet and lobster, it's going to cost something different.
Yeah, it's very different between a buffet and a plated. I mean, that's just a different server to guest ratio. I mean, and that's the other thing is that, I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, you're not paying me for the half hour that I'm able to get something done. You're paying me for the 30 years of experience that allow me to get something done in 30 minutes. I mean, that's a very different process.
A great point. Such a great point. I literally just had somebody try to bring me down more than half price on my package, more than half price. And she was in one of my bridal parties. So that's the only reason she reached out to me was because she loved me in her friend's wedding. And, I'm like, so there's a lot of hours. I know it doesn't, when I send you this little package, you think I'm just going to show up on the day and this is what happens. But there's a lot, there's 40 plus hours that go in prior to my weekend of 40 hours that I put into your wedding. And and not only that, it's not about the hours, it's the expertise, the education, we have insurance. We, can do things a lot quicker. We can make phone calls. If something happens and we need a rental that didn't show up, we have connections. We can do that. If you're just, your sister who's helping you plan your wedding, they're not going to be able to make those phone calls when something goes wrong or to help you out in the last hour,
But the questions to ask.
Right.
Exactly. And we already are covering those steps prior to, so those things are not happening unless it's a unforeseen circumstance, obviously.
Well, and because we know so many vendors. I mean, I was talking to a bride this morning, and I was getting a kind of a general sense of like her vibe and kind of what she likes, and we were talking about everything. We were talking about florals, photography, and entertainment. And I said, look, I'm not going to put anybody in front of you that first is not going to be within your budget, but I also don't want to put anybody in front of you that I don't absolutely 100% believe will do an amazing job. Period. And it's only through experience from years and years and years of being in the South Florida industry that we know who is going to be super reliable and who is not. If you just Google somebody and great, they've got a 5-star review, we don't know where those reviews came from. I mean, it's amazing. Sometimes I even like restaurant, like on Yelp, if I look through a restaurant review, they all have kind of a similar vibe, except they've changed like 1 or 2 words. And you're like, really?
A little suspect.
Yes.
Does everybody like their compollo that much?
Is that the only thing they serve? What's happening here?
And that's also hard. And then of course, how do you as far as your pricing, because it's amazing. Again, in South Florida, there are a wide variety of prices for event planners. There are some people that are just coming onto the market that are, $600. And then there's other people that are $3,000 and other people that are $10,000. And, it's amazing how many times somebody will say, well, we talked to another event planner and they're like a third your price. And I'm like, well, great. If that's what you feel comfortable with, then please, it's your wedding, it's your budget. You should go with whoever you feel comfortable with. I mean,
and it's also then you feel like those unrealistic expectations from the clients sometimes too. If they feel like they're overspending on you or they're paying more than they think that they're supposed to, then you feel like they're taking a lot more to, make it worth their while almost sometimes. But I think as we get to be more seasoned and we're in it more, you can kind of weed those people out and understand. And just like you said to them, well, if that's who you feel comfortable with and that's the direction you want to go, that's fine. Feelings hurt. Go for it.
Right. And it's amazing how many of those same clients will come to me like 3 months later and say,
I wish I would have hired you.
or try to hire you and your date's booked.
Yeah, or say, you know,
Yeah.
we're not getting a great response, and you know, do you still have that date available?
Right.
You know, good 30% of my clients come from other bad event planners that have just come onto the market or have overbooked themselves, and so don't have enough time to communicate with them. You know, it's like communication is everything when it comes to wedding planning. But you know, I tell people all the time that, you know, to plan a successful wedding will take 400 hours or more from start to finish. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of emails and phone calls and other things that I'm saving them from having to do.
Right.
You know, I'm taking all that messy, discombobulated world and bringing it down into manageable pieces that fit into their crazy work life. So we'll work on venue first, then a photographer, then entertainment. You're right, manageable pieces, so that way it doesn't stress them out.
So it's not overwhelming for them, you know. And
Right.
That's part of our job, is to keep them stress free. So as much as they're so excited, I think when we're there to keep them in line and say, don't worry, you have the time. We already have these connections. We've already spoke to these people. Let's just keep you at bay so that you're not overwhelmed with 10 contracts at once, and your flowers and your photography and your DJ or your band and all these other things. Like, focus on, you know, one thing at a time.
And it's not about moving. It's not about like moving the centerpieces or flowers from one venue to another venue. It's about all the little details and making sure everybody who has been hired, whether it has been hired through you or through the actual client, that they're getting all the things that they need, and it's the timelines and it's the details and making sure all the I's and T's are dotted and crossed.
Yep. And even little things like their tablecloth sizes being the correct tablecloth sizes. You know, they might say, oh, well, I was going to have 10 rounds, but they don't know, are they 72 inch? Are they 60 inch? Are you mixing them? You know, they don't know those things. So that's all those little things that they would never think of, because again, we do this all the time, and this is the one and only time they've ever done it. So, and that's why it's, you know, like you said, 400 plus hours to plan a full wedding. When you're doing full planning, for them, it's so worth it for that little bit of extra money to hire us for full service versus month of. And then at the last month, we realize those things that you might not have done correctly because we weren't involved. And then we're trying to pick up those pieces. And, you know, our industry is so crazy right now. Before, we had a little more wiggle room. Like, the rental companies had extra ivory linens or basic things, you know, that weren't specialty. Now, it's so hard to come by months out, let alone a week of, a day of, you know, a month out of the wedding. So
it's a nightmare right now. It's a nightmare.
Oh,
I mean, you know, you have to over order a little bit. But okay, so let me counter this argument. When do you think it's okay not to have a planner? Because I think that, you know, a wedding planner there's not an answer to all equations in this world, right? So when do you think it's proper not to have a wedding planner? You know, because
I mean, I'm being honest though, because even if you have a smaller wedding or a DIY wedding, who's going to put all those pieces together? It's almost like you need a planner more for those types of weddings. Right. And then if you have a huge grand scale wedding, then it's a production and you need somebody because it's a production.
Right.
I'll tell you when.
I don't know.
Okay, so I actually look out on the beach, and the other day there was a couple that was getting married. It was a bride and a groom, the officiant, and one of the, I don't know which one, but one that was a mother. Right. That was it. They had 3 people and the officiant. So I would think something like that would probably be appropriate to not be. Yeah.
Or when you're not going to have logistics. I guess that would be an easy answer, is if there's not going to be a ton of logistics. If you're going to do something simple like that, where there's no arch and chairs and all of those things that need to be orchestrated and set up and broken down, and then a dinner to be handled and transportation to be handled and whatever decor you're going to need and getting ready, they're still going to want to get their hair and makeup done, you know, things like that.
Well,
but if it is a beach, sorry.
Yeah, no, and timing is everything. And talking about timing, hello, Brooke.
We'll call my name.
Hi, Brooke.
There she slides in.
You had me at logistics. I was like, well, I better press play right now, then. I was like, straighten the back of my hair, but you can't see that. It's fine.
You look great. You
gorgeous.
Look at you. I know. What are you bringing us today? Look good. She says that all the
same
time.
old looking. Well, she's doing it all natural.
Oh my goodness.
Did I
So,
miss anything good?
oh yeah, of course, please.
I've been
Oh my God.
watching.
We've been talking about like why is a wedding planner, need it. And I here's what I think. It's that I think that their wedding planners aren't always needed, but I do think that people need an assistant of
Lies.
some sort. Assistant of some sort.
Oh, yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't have to be wedding planner specific, but you need somebody to run to the store, run and get something, right? If you want somebody that is wedding specific, then of course invest into a wedding planner, but have somebody that's going to be helping you that day at least. If you're having a small backyard event for less than 30 people and it's a barbecue that your dad's doing, great. But you're still going to want somebody that's not in the family that can run to the store and pick up a random stuff. Oh my God, we don't have enough ice. Oh my God, we forgot cups.
Even if you don't have all the I's and T's done like you think you do, something's always going to happen.
Something is going to happen.
Even a beachside wedding, I mean, like that you would think is like a no-frill nothing. But that is like, you have a lot of details when it comes to that. You have water that you want to wash the feet. You want something that you can wipe their feet on. You
got tourists with thongs.
Exactly. You've got your shoes. You want to make sure that they're like put in a basket or something, and you've got maybe something to keep them warm if it's a nighttime wedding. I mean, there's a ton of things that they just don't think about that, somebody who is professional would know, like these are the things that they.
It's not a bath house. We're just doing a little ceremonial thing with the feet. Keith, remember that one time? I was like, well, shit, let me get my toes in
I remember I went to one, and it was a December, many years ago. And I remember.
Oh, we lost her.
Uh-oh.
No, she froze.
To take something. I took my shoes off.
Oh,
it was many years ago.
Wait,
so Marcy got in line.
Yeah, Marcy, we forgot. We didn't hear that whole story because you cut out for like.
I cut out?
Yeah.
Oh my
usually
gosh.
it's me.
Okay, so many years ago, I was out at a beachside wedding. I took my shoes off, and the sand was really ice cold because it was like December.
Yeah.
And you just like you don't think about those things, and you make sure you have a wrap and all. But had there not been anything for us, had nobody provided for us, there were some people that just didn't plan ahead.
Right.
So I mean, those are the things that like I said, a planner is going to know ahead of time.
Well, and at least a coordinator. I mean, there are people that specialize in beachside weddings. I mean, we were just at an NAWP meeting last night. By the way, Elizabeth, you are former president of NAWP. Am I correct on that?
Yep, and chairman. Yep. I was involved for the last 8 years. I actually just resigned.
Oh, congratulations.
Yay, finally.
I totally get that. I just resigned as president from NACE. So
good job. So much extra time on our hands now, right?
It's amazing.
So I got roped back in on the relaunch a few years ago, and it was well worth it because we had such an amazing board of women, and it was really, really a great thing to be a part of. But it's busy, and that's a volunteer position. I've been in it a long time, and I love it and support it. We'll go to the networking, but just like last night, I wasn't able to attend that meeting. I was planning to, but it's just
they did a good job.
It's a busy time. Yeah,
they did a really good job.
I wasn't invited in fear that I might not show up on time. I couldn't possibly imagine how.
Well, I would have picked you up. I would have.
Well, Keith knows that if he wants me on time, he's like, I gotta pick you up.
Yeah,
I'm driving. But one of the things that we met somebody that specializes in small beach weddings, 20 people or less, and I thought, see. Perfect. For that kind of event, do you really need a wedding specific planner? No, there's a company that actually does that specifically, and they get the bouquet of flowers for the bride. They take care of the arch. They bring the chairs. They have the sound machine. They give you a limited menu.
So it's almost all inclusive, but for 20 or under and on the beach. Oh, that's a good idea though. People, we're in South Florida. Why shouldn't somebody specialize in that and have it? Because.
Yeah, and it was great because I think it was like $600, and we'll bring out the chairs. We have, and again, pre-selected bouquets. You had one of 3 choices, one of 3 back arches, and that's it. Nothing. You couldn't change anything. And I thought, good for them, right? I'm like, though that makes total sense.
We'll make it work. You can make that work. Like,
specific
build around
niche.
that if you have to.
And we have a lot of destination people, a lot of destination clients. I don't know about you, but I've been getting them more and more and more over the last few years, and especially in the last 6 months. I would say almost all of them are out of town, which is, good that we got so accustomed to Zoom, because now it's very easy.
But I mean, a good half of my clients are destination
Yeah,
now.
so many destinations, and a lot of them they're not going to have 100, 200 person wedding. They're going to have something under 20 people. So that's perfect for them. They just want to get married in South Florida and have a great vacation. So
Well, and I always talk about red flags. I mean, there are red flags in the industry down here that we will be able to point out, and that both of us being hospitality veterans, we look at the contracts and go, wait, I'm sorry, what, why is this in here? Or a lot of people don't even know like what an attrition is for their room block. And they're like, oh, wait, there's a forgivable amount. Yes, that's an attrition and it should be in your contract. But even vendor meals. I mean, how many contracts do brides get and overlook the fact that every band member is required to have a hot meal, not just a meal, a hot meal from the hotel.
Combos isn't going to work for that one.
I just had a very cold wrap last weekend. That was like, I think they made it at 10 a.m. and we eat at like 8. So
yeah. But and you were
that
probably
the first time in a long time that I've had a cold meal like sandwich.
But you were probably grateful for it. You're like,
I actually loved it.
I'm going to tell you about
I'm happier about that than a rare filet
salad and the sandwich I shoplifted after last wedding cake. I ate all the way home. It was fabulous.
It was a turkey wrap and some Lay's potato chips, and I was so happy.
I was the same. I was thank you, Keith Willard, because he brought that, and I was like, and I shoplifted it all the way home.
That's the thing is that's one of the things that I think that as a wedding planner, somebody that's a professional in this industry, is that we save our clients money because we know it's normal and customary. We can look out for those things that are going to cost people extra money. I tell people all the time, I said, look, at the end of the day, I'm trying to pay for myself through making sure that you're not overspending on stuff like favors. I hate favors. I think favors are a huge waste of money, and I am going on the record saying that. I think that if you're a bride out there trying to think about a favor, think about something else. But
and all they do is try to come up with something that somebody's going to use, and half of them are left over at the end of the night. And nobody,
30%.
And it is funny that you say that, because that is something that I do offer.
Yeah.
But I will say I do not push it to my clients. It's not something that it's just not something that is necessary.
No.
I'd rather see them put the money towards other things. The invitation, the menus. There's so many other details, that help enhance the day.
And bring the vision together.
And bring the
even
vision
menu
together.
Cards can bring that vision together so much more beautifully than a favor. There are some favors that can be done well and do add to like decor and stuff, but generally speaking, it's another thing that we're trying to fit on a table in between, a coffee cup and a soup spoon or whatever, the case may be. And there's no room left on the table, and we're trying to fix it.
Unless you work for Kilo events and you've got here's matches. I want you to build a log cabin and make origami on all the place cards, and there's 140 people and you've got 20 minutes.
Well, no, my favorite.
And I do it.
Yes, and she does it. Well, and one of the favors were like used keys, like skeleton keys, and I went, what? Why would anybody want a used skeleton key? I do not understand why this is a favor. Stop. Thinking of random shit to put on your table.
And it has nothing to do with their personality.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with their personality or who they are as a couple.
No, it's not like they were giving us a key to a haunted house because they were goth. I mean,
they saw Becky's Pinterest, got we got
that's cute.
And one op-ed.
Yeah.
That would be cute.
I know that would be cute. A key to a haunted house if you're doing a goth wedding. I think that would be.
Boo are just applauses from ghosts. Hello. Oh wait, I think I'm wearing the right tops for this conversation.
From ghosts.
Call me Sally.
Oh, I'm adding
for
that.
Christmas or something.
I'm adding that to the list of Brookisms. I'm just adding that to the list of Brookisms.
Oh, I do have a book, don't I? little Brook Bible. There's the Old and the New Testament. I still follow suit.
Oh my god! But I mean, I think that's the biggest misconception. And we talked about that at the beginning of the show. Is that I think a lot of people assume that event planners are there to suck every dime out of you from your wedding, and many times we are more worried about your budget than you are. We're like, what? Why are you paying that? I don't understand. Why?
yeah.
Wait, why is that florist costing $10,000 more than my florist that I usually use? I don't understand. Same floral, same everything. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to be careful, especially in the
Oh,
South Florida industry,
we just
especially
You gotta
now.
get it.
Yeah. We just had a
Especially
client
now.
that paid like $750 for these branded coconuts for one photo op for their bridal party.
Tell them to call us.
Let me tell you, they were cute, but like
I
that's
know
a
which
lot
ones
of
you're
money.
talking
They
about.
had to
It is a
like,
lot.
they were so cute. Probably a great photo, but I mean, $750. I
For a
don't.
coconut. For
And I can
branded
climb up.
For
coconut.
their
I can get a
for
machete
20
and climb up the
people.
tree outside in like 5 minutes. Boom.
I know.
20
Let me,
bucks.
honey, give me a paper clip and a lighter. I can brand
Oh
a
my
coconut.
goodness. I'm like,
I'm trying to
You
do
know?
things. You're trying to burn everything down. Great.
but if that's what they want to spend, that's what they want to spend,
Right.
But then
But it's your
I don't
job to
know.
talk them out of that. Keep going.
Yeah,
But a wedding planner is sometimes too much money.
well, yeah, exactly. But or find a vendor that is able
Not
to
a
do
good
it
one.
for a cheaper
Right.
cost. You know what I mean? Or my favorite is, or people overspend on late night food all the time.
Mhm.
All the time. It is the biggest waste of a budget ever. And I apologize to my hotel people right now because I'm probably going to, cut you off at the knees on this part because that's a big piece of funding. But you do
No
not
more
need,
sliders.
right? You don't need sliders for all of your guests. They're not all
Listen,
there.
I had
And
my
then,
own birthday party last year for my 40th, but
Yeah.
and I spent a lot of money on a beautiful charcuterie display. It was amazing. It was so
Love it.
beautiful, great. It's my thing. Loved it. Then I spent $150 on McDonald's late night, and you know what everybody talked about for the next year? The
night.
McDonald's.
Big
Yep.
Macs
So,
over
like,
the cooter
but I spent
board.
$150 on. I'm like, so what about the band and the DJ
What did you
and the
learn?
charcuterie and all my decor and my photo ops? No,
Two
Oh,
last
just
dance and a
McDonald's.
what? A Big Mac, baby. Go to Ronald's house.
Yeah.
But I mean,
It
it's
was the
amazing.
biggest hit.
But that is a big waste of money. And if you're talking to a wedding planner that looks at your overall budget, you're like, look, if you have 100 people, maybe buy food for 30% at 11 o'clock, because that's all that's going to be. First you're going to lose 20% right after the cake, because anybody over the age of 65 is like, see ya,
Right.
and then cut out a couple of the drums.
You can cut the Big Macs in half, I promise.
Oh yeah, and if you cut the Big Macs in half, but I mean, that's what I'm saying is that we look at the overall budget and go, okay, does that make sense for us? When you're talking about your ceremony and you're talking about 30 minutes, I understand that it's a major component of your visuals, but where's the photographer? Where are those photos actually going to be taken? And so, do you really need the back florals of your ceremony that add an extra $600 or $1,000? Because
Right.
you're never going to see them in the photo ever.
And a lot of times now, they, back in the day, again, like we referred to earlier, Marcy, back in the day, but that's the only, that was where all your photos were taken, especially when it was more of like church weddings and things, everything was taken at your ceremony, all your formals, all your portraits, everything. But now photographers are very creative and they go to different locations. They do your bridal party in a different location. And really, you're only getting those ceremony pictures at that arch or at that backdrop. So again, and they're focusing on you two. They're not really getting a lot of the big wide angle shots. They're you exchanging rings or looking into each other's eyes and your parents looking at you while you're exchanging vows. Those are the moments that are being captured. And that's what's important about the day. The whole day is happening because of those moments. So
well, and things have changed a lot, because it used to be also the parents would put together the wedding. The parents would choose everything, and that's why everybody ended up with powder blue ruffled tuxedo shirts.
Big puffy
and the
sleeves.
bathhouse in the middle of the ceremony.
I was a flower girl in all of those dresses for my aunt. The lace on, the puffy sleeve satin, all
Me
of it.
too.
I declined.
Was your
Nope.
Yes.
No,
I'm wearing this or I'm not coming. I'm not walking. I'm not talking.
That's where the flower dude came from. That was the first flower dude. No, but I mean, and of course, staying up on all the latest trends. I mean, it's amazing talking about flower dudes. It's now a big thing as flower dudes instead of flower girls. People are
flower whatever at this point.
Yeah, people are having more fun.
Yeah,
I think
I had two grandmas that were the flower girls, and it was the cutest moment ever. Like the sweetest thing. Oh my goodness, this was a few years ago too. Yeah.
Were they on walkers or little like?
No, they weren't. No, they were they were older, but not in walkers or anything. And they both walked together. They had matching dresses. but age appropriate, and they had their little flower girl baskets, and they threw them.
Oh, I love that.
And I'm
so
still working
great.
on that pink Barbie Jeep that you just tossed up the flowers and just like, you know what I mean? I'm still working on that one. That beach wedding key.
Yes,
Remote controls are great.
I love that.
You just did, speaking of flowers, you just did an event the other day, and it was like so different. I mean, like the one with the feathers, was it feathers or
I had something to say. Because it was like a khaki color almost, because I was there. And I'm like, this could be done so wrong and go so left so fast.
Exactly.
Like, you guys did such a great job, because to me, I know about two things, right?
Yeah.
That was like, wow, because that could have been real tacky, and because it was like essentially khaki colored.
That is exactly what I was thinking.
And I told them, I was like, y'all gotta mess this up real bad.
What is it? Is it what was the name? The bride candy?
Bride candy?
Bride candy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, bride candy florist. I mean, oh my God, these guys were amazing, and they really could have gone very bad, like easily, but they did a magnificent job. And they moved the whole ceremony thing from upstairs to the downstairs. The other thing I'm going to actually bring up on this one is I wish our clients would heed our advice, especially when it comes to outdoor weddings.
Stay out of your own way.
Oh my God. I mean, I had to argue with this bridal party, and I love this couple. So I would have moved heaven and hell in order to make sure that their wishes came true and their outdoor ceremony. But last Saturday was crazy. I mean, we had
the same thing at our wedding on Saturday.
Oh God, there were storms everywhere. And so I said, guys, look.
And very intermittent. They were very intermittent and very heavy when they happened. So it was very unpredictable.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it rains for 5 minutes, you're screwed. Everything's ruined. Do not take that chance. Is it really worth being? And the secondary option was beautiful. It was on the top floor. It had great views of South Beach. Amazing, amazing, amazing. But my God, I had to tell the bridal party, stop ganging up on me. I'm not trying to ruin her day, for sakes.
Okay,
Cut to beautiful, no rain. She cries, ruins her makeup. I get called to go fix it at the last second.
Oh no, she was crying because she was in love. That's actually different.
Well, no,
but then it rained.
I'm just saying.
Then it
point
rained.
is, you could have been stuck in the rain. At least your hair still looked nice. Going to fix your face.
So did you end up moving?
Listen to the wedding planner.
Yeah, we moved it in, and it rained.
But we're so put in that position, so we're like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, because you feel like if you move it, it's never going to rain because it's South Florida and it's so unpredictable. And then you don't move it and it rains.
And then it rains.
And then you're the bad guy
again.
And on the elevator on the way up, I was trying to convince Keith. I'm like, it's I call it the psych rain because I'm from up north. The psych rain in Florida because it's all about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And Keith's like, girl, you know better. And I'm like, damn it, you're always right. Why are you always right?
I know that all three of you have had to deal with this. And that is the bride that, let's say she doesn't like the stepmother's dress.
Well, she did that on purpose.
And that's actually someone I'm working with right now. And I know you're working with her, Keith. The question is what would you advise your clients in that point?
Wait, you mean the low cut, like
super sexy for the mother of the stepmother, not the mother.
Oh God, yes, the stepmother. And and I don't care. It looks like waves on your body. Okay,
listen, that's just only appropriate for the hooker aunt. So you know what? Give that to her.
The Met Gala.
Oh my God. But still, but that's a big thing. It's like we have to run interference with the other family as well. That's another thing a wedding planner does, and many times the bride can say exactly the same thing that we say, but because we're a professional, they listen to it. They won't listen to the bride because they're like, oh, she doesn't like us because I'm her stepmom or whatever. But if it comes from us because we're basically Switzerland, they're like, oh, okay, I get that. Oh, I get that.
I think you're 100% right on that and it's our delivery too, because we're not as involved emotionally in that relationship as, stepdaughter, stepson would be or something too.
Yeah, you're such a slut. Stop wearing that dress.
Maybe a little shawl over your shoulder.
Right.
It's going to be chilly in June.
It is your job to talk them out of bad decisions.
Like
You only married my dad for his money.
Yeah. So there was actually
the check cleared. I'm fine with that point, but Gloria doesn't need to look like a hooker. Okay.
So I just pointed out there was a comforter, like throw a comforter on her. There was actually somebody on the
You want to throw a couch on her? I don't understand.
She's a comforter, but okay. Now we're rearranging furniture. So clearly Marcy's upset.
So I actually was taking a look at the pictures from the Met Gala today as well.
Right.
And I don't know about you, but
girl,
I wasn't seeing too much that I liked. Just saying. I mean,
what?
There were a few things though that were beautiful.
Kim Kardashian and Marilyn Monroe's dress was amazing.
Yeah. Kim Kardashian's dress was pretty. I thought Blake Lively's dress was gorgeous.
Yes,
but there were a lot of misses.
No, I thought Sarah Jessica did amazing job with her return since 2018.
Oh God, it was so annoying though.
That was very
black and white,
didn't it?
I was the whole because I watched the clips and like the little TikToks. I guess we do that now, and I'm like, okay, Jessica, yeah, we get it. It's you. It looks like my wallpaper in the bathroom. Fine, great.
Oh my God, you're funny.
But like, girl, turn it around. Let's keep it moving. Yeah, I was not doing. Well, doing backflips. I was unimpressed this year. There was like 5 standouts. That was it.
But think about this: the Met Gala is like a big wedding. I mean, think about trying to be the planner behind that.
That's my disappointment,
right? Well, and then you have a huge variety of guests coming, dressed in lots of different options. I mean, as a wedding planner, many times, people defer to us about what should we wear.
Mm-hmm. I loved. What is it? Alicia Keys. She had that coat on that looked like New York. Yeah. I thought that was killer.
Now I have to go and look at all of this because I feel so lost. I thought I saw these things, and now I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my God, it was amazing.
The Versace from the forum.
Versace.
For the forum. What was her? She did it for me. I would have taken off the garbage around it, but that gown gave me Gloria Klein, Continental 1993. I think it was so great, so great.
So what? Okay, back to weddings. Okay, so Elizabeth, what do you do about timelines? A big component about what we do is timing. And trying to keep brides on time all day, because keeping a bride on time starts at 9 a.m.
Right. And that's actually a huge selling point of a wedding planner in my pitch as well. Is I actually just had she was a guest at our wedding, and I know her personally because she was at another wedding, and she saw my pages. She was getting married in a month. She's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "My timeline." Oh, my makeup artist just asked me for that. What is that? And I was like, and I showed her. She's like, "How many pages is that?" I'm like,
18,
like 8, 9, but there's other information as well as this timeline, blah, blah. And her eyes got so big, and she's like, "Are you available on my date?" And I checked, and then she's like, the next day her groom was like, "I heard you're going to be our planner." I said, "Well, we're going to have a meeting. This weekend is about so-and-so." But, and I did become her planner. I was very grateful that I got to be a part of their day. It was so amazing and beautiful. It all worked out. It was very serendipitous, which I love. And it was just funny to me that the timeline was like something that hadn't even crossed her brain, and her wedding was like in a month and a half. I'm like, what? But again, that comes to this is the only time she's ever done this in her life. So why would it cross her brain? Of course it crosses my brain because it's a huge component to my job. But I do use a program, which I think you're very familiar with because they've been on your program. Yes. I've used them for a long time, and it has been a huge, amazing time saver, but there's still a lot of work and effort that goes into it. Yes, it's a program that helps. And helps have our Rolodex of our vendors that we use all the time. So you don't have to always insert.
But you have to put them in.
Correct. Yes. And there's the ones that happen all the time. So you always have to add. But it's a huge component. And I make it a very big team effort. And I know that's a thing that other vendors complain about with planners and what they overstepping them or, trying to.
I do not care. That is my one number thing that Keith Willard knows. If he doesn't hand me a stack of pieces of papers with all things, I get real shitty.
Oh yeah.
Because normally I do the reception, he does the day stuff, and so if I've got vendors coming in, I don't have a floor plan, and I'm trying to do origami and do all the things, match books and log houses. I need to know what the hell's going on. So,
but
for the last 4 years, I've had a timeline. Bam.
Yes, it's a big deal, and I have it in my phone and a printed copy.
And most important tool a day young girl could have.
Yeah, but definitely. Vendors actually get get upset if we try to overstep our bound, our world.
Right.
And that's why we involve
and I reach out to them in the beginning before I've even started to put my timeline together. If I have met them before and work with them, I'm like, hey, great to work with you again. If I haven't, I introduce myself and I say, listen, I'm putting this together. What are the things you need? What are you requiring? Obviously, I have your contract. I know how many hours you're going to be there. Then this is more of a month of, when I'm talking like this is more like when you come in partial service or month of. Obviously, if you're full planning, there's a little bit more that's already going into it and you already have those things covered. But it's a huge thing in photography, especially. Their lighting matters. Every photographer is different. Every venue is different. Where are they having a first look? Are they not having a first look? That takes a huge toll on your timeline. Hair and makeup has to be up so much further. They have to be dressed so much earlier. They don't understand why it takes 35 minutes for them to put on their dress, because it's not putting on a t-shirt and jeans. You have to like put on a big 20-pound dress, or maybe not.
And there's boob tape, and there's all sorts of other things that are involved.
Jewelry, your hair is not getting messed up while you do it.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
But and that's the thing is, and what really drives me crazy is that one of my clients will get an email from a photographer 6 months in advance and says, do you have your timeline?
Yeah.
Like, no, they don't have their timeline 6 months in advance. And
then it makes you feel like you're doing a bad job. And you're like, but why would I have that now?
Right. We still have to talk to hair and makeup. We still have to talk to all the other people that are going to be involved. No, we don't have the timeline, and that kind of gets on under my skin a little bit too. When, it's like, please just work with us. I mean, we're here to try to make everybody's job easier. Right. Help us be, make sure that we're setting the right expectations with our clients on all levels. Just because you have an assistant that does nothing but sit on their computer or his computer and type out, emails to make you feel like they're on top of it. Right. And they're not going to look at the damn timeline until 3 weeks before anyway.
Or if they even do at all. How many times have you had where they are not even paying attention? And you're like, why did I put so many hours and effort into this and come to you for your info? And, and then they're like, what time are we doing?
Would never say
what time is the ceremony? I'm like, how do you not know what time the ceremony is? I don't understand.
Or like, when are the toasts? When is the entree being served? And you want to have it served warm and hot or whatever. You want to make sure that all of those details are being done. And when somebody comes in and they try to overtake and override whatever has been worked out and discussed,
right?
Then
that's key how that works out.
Okay, they're not working out so well. I mean, those are not people that you would want to kind of. You want to kind of end it on you want to have a good rapport with your people.
But think about being a bride and having to have the photographer come to you a question because you don't have a planner and because they don't have anybody else to ask. I mean, do you really want that annoyance all throughout your
You
night?
better have the best DOC on the planet.
And then you have all those people coming at you. It's not just one dedicated person. You have all those people coming at you. And
I'm annoyed enough. Can you imagine like another one of me for Keith? I've got to kill himself. I'm enough.
I don't know. I feel like I need like at least two of you.
Well, I am lucky. I do get to leave before the end of the event now, so that makes me super
thing
happy.
I get to do. Yeah, apparently I'm so great now.
But I do get there at like 9 a.m. So
ask me. Well, that's the trade-off.
It's definitely a trade-off.
And I thought it'd be a great idea to break in those new heels. So I went from 4 inches instead of flats to 3.5 inches for the rest of the night. Yeah, I guess what we won't be doing anymore.
She ground that crap out. Oh my God.
Well, let me tell you how my thighs and calves were like toned.
Extra workout for you.
I'm not gonna say mine were toned. It was probably something else, but whatever.
Chased and on fire.
Yes, on fire. But one of the things that I started doing actually for my brides, and I don't know if this is something that you do, I start bringing lunch for my brides, and they obviously have to pay me back, but because it's one of those things that people forget constantly.
I do add it into my timeline.
Yeah,
but
you have to.
Nobody wants a hangry. What is it? A hangry bride? They call it.
But I did a few weeks ago. Even though it's built into the timeline, it was established. The bride was going to order, whatever she was going to order for the groom and his guys, and for her and her girls. Yep. Somewhere it got slipped through the cracks, and the groom didn't have, and his guys had nothing. And we're on Palm Beach Island, so it's not very easy to get around, and it's not very easy to just like DoorDash something,
right?
Or it's going to cost you like $500 for 10 guys to get some subs. But
right,
our luckily our photographer knew a like little hidden spot of a sub shop, and they took me over in a golf cart, and I got it in 10 minutes, and the groom was fed and happy. But those are the
You
things
had a
we would
golf
have
cart,
done
huh?
that.
Yes.
The hotel had a golf cart.
No, that was an inside joke from 2 weddings.
Yes.
I
Oh
was
my God.
promised the golf cart.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, and we were all promised a golf cart, but
I was not
whatever.
received
That's
a
a whole
golf
different.
cart.
That's a whole different world. Yeah, you missed our.
Natalia, large venue, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah.
4-inch heels, walking children in nature. Keith, by the way, can you send me the video? Because I'm glad that you got the back photos of it.
Oh my God, that was funny.
People want to see me in motion.
Oh my God. Oh my God, guys, that's our hour. Holy moly! Wow, it goes by
That went
quick.
so quick.
I know it actually
Even
turned
quicker
into
for
a.
me when I'm 20 minutes late. Isn't that great?
Well, it actually
I'm gonna
turned
miss
into
you
a-
so much already.
I feel like it turned into a bitch session a little bit, so I apologize to our listeners. But you got to hear the
not.
inside.
Well,
the
that's why I
background-
purposely come on 25 minutes later to destroy the show in
Right.
its entirety.
But at least you get a little inside look about all that. See, there is a lot that goes into the process, and so Elizabeth, thank you so much. I mean,
Thank you for having
again,
me.
Elizabeth Hollman with Everlasting Events. She's a Palm Beach native. You can look her up. And we're excited. Next week we have Colin Cowie on the show next week at 2:00. Colin Cowie.
Colin Cowie, wow.
I
When he
mean,
For
sees me.
sure. I've been following him forever. Love it.
oh my
too.
God.
And
His
whose
cli-
wedding is it anyway?
right? Well, and of course, and he's Oprah Winfrey's event planner. He's
Mhm.
Jennifer Aniston's event planner. He's, I mean, name a celebrity.
Kardashian. He
I
did
have
the
to be on
Kim
time next
Kardashian wedding.
week.
You have to be on time next week. But
All the
he's out,
things.
he's out with a new book called The Gold Standard, and we're going to be talking to him about that next week. But for now, everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.